If you know me at least a little bit, you know I love strategy games, particularly turn-based strategy RPGs with a heavy tactical approach. Civilization is a series of strategy games known as 4X games, as in the 4 X's: explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. To say I'm addicted to this game is like saying the sky occasionally exhibits a bluish color. I have logged nearly 500 hours into this game of alternate history in a sort of insane what-if sandbox. Well, there's a lot of interesting things about Civilization 5 and its expansions, so let's look at 10 of those right now. The full title of the game is Sid Meier's Civilization 5, which is something of an artifact title, as Sid Meier only designed the original Civilization, and his involvement with the sequels became more and more limited as time went on, eventually becoming a supervisory role or that of a consultant. His name remained in the title both as an honorary matter and also for branding and familiarity. The lead designer of Civilization 5 was John Schaefer, a longtime fan of the series who was very active in the modding community for the previous game, Civilization 4. Schaefer was later highly critical of his own work on Civilization 5, though I take this with a grain of salt, as he was also heavily plugging his new game at the time he made those comments. With all of the downloadable content and 2 major add-ons, Gods and Kings and Brave New World, Civilization 5 contains 43 playable civilizations, the most of the series, and at this point, almost every historical empire or major civilization has been included. One major exception is the Pueblo. The Pueblo civilization was actually planned to be added to the game as part of the Brave New World expansion. However, when trying to find a native speaker to do voice work, Firaxis ran afoul of the Pueblo Council, who thought the idea of one of their cultural leaders being in a video game to be highly offensive, as they think things like photography or other types of visual representations of their people causes disturbances in the spirit world. So the planned Pueblo playable civilization and the leader Popeye were removed from the game out of respect. Ever wonder why Gandhi, a historical figure who, despite his flaws, always preached pacifism, is so geared towards researching nuclear weapons when played by the AI? Well, this started as a glitch, though not a glitch in Civilization 5, but from the original game in the series. Gandhi was intended to be peaceful, however the issue was, a civ's aggressiveness was determined by a numeric value, and while Gandhi's was very low, his AI was programmed to get more peaceful with each technology researched, which lowered the numeric value, eventually going into the negative. However, it could only get so low. Once it was at the minimum allowable by the game's engine, lowering it again would roll the aggressiveness value over to maximum, turning Mr. Passive Interference into a nuke-crazed maniac who just wants to blow up all the things. For various reasons, this glitch was not addressed in the sequels. For Civilization 5, the glitch no longer exists due to a more sophisticated method of determining AI personalities. But the longtime players were so used to Nuclear Gandhi that he had become a meme, and it would just be almost a shame if he went all fucking kumbaya and flower child on us. So, he's still a huge asshole, but this time he was actually programmed to be one. So don't fuck with Gandhi, his words are backed with nuclear weapons. Civilization 5 is the first game in the series to have leaders speak their own languages. Though some, like Ramses, got the wrong language, or others, such as Attila, are so bad at speaking it that it's practically incomprehensible. What's interesting is that it's easy to assume that the on-screen text is simply subtitles directly translating what each leader is saying. However, this is not the case. What is being said is usually quite different than what is written, with the spoken dialogue being more elaborate than the written. You might realize this rather quickly when meeting George Washington or Queen Elizabeth, but it's less obvious with someone like Alexander the Great or Oda Nobunaga, making the spoken dialogue a bilingual bonus for anyone who happens to understand it. One weird quirk in Civilization 5 is that sometimes you'll see the AI seemingly do something that makes no sense, such as making cities in seemingly worthless patches of land when more resource-abundant land is available, or giving you a diplomatic penalty saying they covet your lands, despite sharing no borders with you. Why does this happen? Because the AI knows the location of all resources, even those they are not able to use yet. For example, researching electricity reveals aluminum on the map. For a human player, it's completely invisible until you have electricity, so you wouldn't be able to plan ahead by placing cities where you see it. But the AI can already see it. Hence, they can and will grab land that has it, despite the fact that they may not be able to use it for quite some time. And if a bunch of AI civs seem really angry at you for getting some land, well, you might have plopped yourself down on a really valuable resource like uranium. In Civilization V, all great artists, musicians, writers, generals, merchants, scientists, and admirals are named after real historical figures. However, great spies are not. Why is this? Well, how many great historical spies can you really name? Yeah, for a spy to be effective, the fact that they are a spy shouldn't be known. So, where do the names come from? The QA team, naturally. In the original version of Civilization V, up through Gods and Kings, France had a unique ability that would increase cultural output of all cities, which would only expire once steam power was researched, giving France a huge edge in culture, especially if you could put off researching steam power until it was necessary. While it's good balance for a powerful, unique ability to have an expiration, ever wonder why it was specifically steam power? Because the real Napoleon Bonaparte thought steam power was a passing fad that would never catch on. Essentially, he gets punished in-game for being wrong in real life. This was referenced in a quote in Civilization IV and actually put in the gameplay of Civilization V, though it was removed as of Brave New World due to the drastic change in the way that culture works. Civilization V is one of those games that is extremely open to modding. While game modding is neither new nor uncommon, Civilization V encourages you to download, use, and make mods. There are even Steam achievements for installing a mod and rating a mod, though Steam disables achievements when actually playing with them due to how easy it would be to exploit. Buying the game includes tools to make your own mods, such as a map editor and other modding tools. The mods that have been created range from gameplay changes or additions to graphical tweaks, updates, or overhauls to additions of new technologies, units, buildings, or even entire civilizations. Want to play as Beavis and Butthead? Of course you do, who wouldn't? You can, and you should do it. You said do it! Oh yeah. Ever wonder what some of the more obscure settings in the advanced game setup menu do? I mean, most of it is pretty obvious, like sea level, which gives you differing ratios of land to water, or toggling whether or not barbarians appear, or selecting how aggressive they are. But there are some strange toggles and selectors that don't seem to have an obvious effect on gameplay, and if you've played the game, you might have dicked with them once or twice, probably didn't notice a difference, and probably ignored them afterwards. So what do? Starting bias toggles a setting which makes certain civs appear near certain terrain. For example, Arabia will usually spawn in or near a desert. This can be turned off. World age effectively affects how much erosion there is. The older the world, the more erosion, and therefore the more flat terrain. The younger the world, the more hills and mountains will appear. Although you never see rain in the game, you can select how much rainfall there is, which changes the abundance of certain types of terrains. Very little rain means more deserts, and a lot would give you more jungles or swamps. The temperature setting also affects terrain in a similar way. If you've played Civilization V and made yourself a rather large empire, you might marvel at how many city names there are. For example, if you start as America, you'll start with cities like Washington and New York, but eventually you're making Cleveland, which is kind of sad. Ever wonder how far it goes? What happens when you run out of city names? What happens when two civilizations share a city name? Or what happens to city-states that have the same name with one of the in-game cities? Well, each of the civilizations has a set list of city names to use in a specific order. Some of the lists are notably longer than others. As a bonus, here's what the last city names are for each of the playable civs. For America, the last city is Labam. For Arabia, the last city is Marrakech. For Assyria, the last city is Hit. For Austria, the last city is Steyr. For the Aztec, the last city is Aztapam. For Babylon, the last city is Tama. For Brazil, the last city is Jundiaí. For Byzantium, the last city is Corinthos. For Carthage, the last city is Saldae. For the Celts, the last city is St. John's. For China, the last city is Jikang. For Denmark, the last city is Melos. For the Netherlands, the last city is Kerkrade. For Egypt, the last city is Amara. For England, the last city is Hull. For Ethiopia, the last city is Weldia. For France, the last city is Calais. For Germany, the last city is Erlangen. For Greece, the last city is Apolton. For the Huns, the last city is, Attila's Court. Attila's Court is the capital, and any new cities you make are borrowed names from the lists of cities of other civilizations that are already in the game. For the Inca, the last city is Chiquito. For India, the last city is Karachi. For Indonesia, the last city is Komodo. For the Iroquois, the last city is Hatta. For Japan, the last city is Naha. For Korea, the last city is Anju. For the Maya, the last city is Kaaba. For Mongolia, the last city is Tes. For Morocco, the last city is Erfud. For the Ottomans, the last city is Bitlis. For Persia, the last city is Farada. For Poland, the last city is Vlokłek. For Polynesia, the last city is Nukumanu. For Portugal, the last city is Ponta Delgada. For Rome, the last city is Hadria. For Russia, the last city is Magnitogorsk. For the Shoshone, the last city is Duck Valley. For Siam, the last city is Sorin. For Shanghai, the last city is Segu. For Spain, the last city is Santa Cruz de Tenerife. For Sweden, the last city is Vasa. For Venice, the last city is, Venice. They can't make new cities. And for the Zulu, the last city is Kunu. Once you run out of names, you can still make cities, but the game will select random names from civilizations not present in the current game. Civs that share names? For example, as America, you'll eventually make the cities of Memphis and Honolulu, but those are used for Egypt and Polynesia respectively, so if those guys are present, the game will just skip to the next name on the list. As for the city-states, such as Venice or Copenhagen, they were removed from the game when new civs were added that use those names, and they were replaced with new city-states.